Pro player and world champion Johnny Archer faced all four of these situations during the same rack. It was in the middle of a 182-ball run during the 2017 Derby City Straight Pool Challenge. He really exemplified, in my opinion, what it takes to work the problem and to find a way to get through a rack. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into the rack. Welcome to this week's Rack of the Week. I'm showing the last couple shots of Johnny's rack as he sets up for his break ball because this is a situation that comes up quite often. Now you can see the angle that he has on this ball going down the rail. A better angle would be like half of that. Really, you want a slight angle. The reason is you're trying to gauge how far the cue ball bounces in this direction as you're drawing it back in this direction. And you know, obviously talk about the parallel line. You're trying to get just inside this parallel line. When you have too much angle, it's hard to do. If you have a very slight angle, boy, you can still kind of pound it and draw it out and get the cue ball kind of back to where it is right now. But with too much angle, which is what Johnny has, you got to spin it. You got to use a lot of left spin, and so you're actually judging how much the object ball is going to throw. You can't really draw it because you'd have to hit it so soft. You're kind of using outside spin to pull it back if you can. And the result is sometimes what happens here. And I think this is a result of Johnny being stretched out over the table. He just didn't cue it as accurately as he wanted to. He was going to be close to the break ball because he had too much angle. If he was able to spin it with left English more accurately, it might have been, the cue ball might have stopped here. But because he had too much angle and he didn't get enough left spin on it, he has the wrong angle on the break shot. Now, the title of this Rack of the Week is Work the Problem. So this is a low percentage break shot, but I've talked about this before. You got to put all your energies into it and be positive. Because if it doesn't work out, you can just play safe. But it's not going to work out if you don't really put your energies into it. And I'm going to replay that break shot. Let's see if I can back it up just a little bit, right to about there. You saw what the cue ball did. He's shooting with straight high. Look at the tangent line of the cue ball off from the break ball. It's this way, which is where the cue ball went, even though he's hitting it at the top of the cue ball. So because he's hitting it so hard, the cue ball stays on that tangent line, and maybe it'll curve a little bit at the end. But once it hits the rail, that top spin is going to take, and the cue ball is going to curve back into the rack. So it's a really hard thing to judge, and that's what makes this a low percentage break shot. But what Johnny's trying to do is hit these bottom corner balls, and maybe just the bottom corner ball. Because if you can get the cue ball to hit this ball, the two ball, and come off from it, the cue ball will go this way, and the two ball will go this way. And it's very often you're going to end up with a re-break shot right away with the cue ball here, and the two ball maybe here, and you can just re-break and go right into the bottom of the rack. It's low percentage, but it can work, and that's what Johnny's going for. And obviously, he misjudges just a little bit. You can't call it a misjudge. He hit that perfect. It just didn't work out. Now, so the cue ball didn't come off the rack. Very often, when the cue ball doesn't come off the rack, you're going to be stuck to the side with no shot at all. But Johnny actually has a shot, and he's looking at it. He's got a couple of options here, because what you'd really like to do is cut this two ball into the corner, and what you'd like to do is just go two rails to center table. Because I think from there you'll have a shot on this 13, and you can re-break the rack from there. That would be great. The problem is, once again, he's got the wrong angle. He's a little bit thin on this two ball, so I really don't think that he can hold it. He'd have to hit it so soft, the two ball might not even get to the pocket. So one option is actually to use a little bit of inside English and try and come past this four and actually come out of this corner tight to center table. Now, that's a possibility. I've shot that shot a number of times. Low percentage again, getting the speed control just right is real difficult. But if the cue ball stops here or here or here as it's coming out of that fourth rail, you've got a shot from all those locations. Now, it might not be ideal. We're working the problem because we've got a much less than ideal situation. But those can be workable. And you could also use the five ball. And maybe you come too far and you can cut the five ball and come around the other way and get center table on this shot to rebreak. So those are options. Johnny's looking at what angle he has, and he sees a better option. And it might be hard to tell from this camera angle, but he's cutting this 2-ball thin, so thin, he's going to put maximum inside English to bring the cue ball straight back up into the rack. It looks to me like the cue ball's going to hit this stripe ball, but he really puts a lot of inside and hits the 6. And you'll notice that he doesn't hit it hard. Well, he hits it pretty hard, but he strokes it smoothly. Maximum left English. So he knew he wasn't going to smash the rack wide open, but he actually clipped that 6 ball on the way up and then hit this stripe ball. So now, look at what he's doing. He's stalking the table. That's what you got to do when you've got just a few balls open. He's working the problem, taking a look at his options. So let's take a look at his options and see what we see. It might look pretty grim from here, but I see several ways to open the rack. You actually have a way to open the rack with all of the open balls, which are these 4 balls and then actually the 14. He took a look at it, and the 14 does have a pocket in the side. Now, that's a extreme cut angle into the side, but it's workable. And so he could play a stop shot or come to the bottom rail right here to get on that 14 ball and try and open these up a little bit more. And I'll tell you, I'll let you in on the future because that's ultimately what he chooses. But there's a couple of other options. Now, he only has 2 shots. He has this ball and this one. And if this stripe ball was sitting against the rail or near the rail up here, I would suggest that that's the correct shot right now, because I call that a junk ball. It's a trouble ball because it's up table. I don't think it's going to have much use to you unless if you think you're going to need it during an end pattern, maybe to set up for a key ball on this side of the table or for some other reason. But, you know, if this stripe ball was on the rail, it might be a good option to shoot it now, because then you're no worse off, and maybe you even get a better angle on this 5 to come around and do something else. But as it is, with this ball here, you need to leave it, because that's a potential break ball at the end of this rack. Now, you may not need it. You may shoot it at some other point in the rack. You may manufacture a better break ball on the side of the rack later on, but you need to keep your options open. So, and Johnny does that, and we'll see. I'll let you in on the other secret. He does end up using this ball to break the rack. So it's very wise to do that. Plus, if you need to shoot this ball off sometime during the rack, it's not going to be very difficult to shoot a ball down table and then bring the cue ball in some fashion up here to shoot that ball on the side. So it's very available for a pattern later in the rack. So we've determined that we're going to keep this ball. That means we're going to shoot this ball. There's no other option, right? But you could bring the cue ball over here and shoot this 9 in this side and try and open the balls. Or you could use high inside and bring the cue ball here and shoot the 9 in that side and stun the cue ball into these balls. I like that shot because the 9 ball in this pocket is easier than the 14 ball in that pocket. And with both of those, you have this stripe ball in this side as an insurance ball. So that's probably all the analysis that I would have done. So, and you're going to see Johnny play position for this 14 ball. So I don't know if you can see his cue stick over here. He's standing at this corner of the table, really looking and making a firm decision about what he wants. Right now, he just looked at the 14 ball. So if he gets this angle on the 14, what happens to the cue ball? The cue ball is going to deflect this way and then hit the 10. It's possible that he's not going to have this stripe as an insurance ball because the 9's going to be blocking it. But it's a low percentage no matter what you're going for, but you've got to work the problem. You've got to go for it and give it your best shot. So he's decided that he's got a much straighter angle on this 14 than I was looking at. But see how he went right to the 14? Because he knew exactly what he was going to do. And he does have a shot on this ball as an insurance ball and a shot on the 10. Now, he knew that he wasn't going to open this cluster, so he's still working the problem. He's standing over on this side of the table and taking a look. So let's take a look ourselves and see what he sees. Does this pink ball pass here? I don't think it does, because he's got a real easy opportunities to play for that shot, and he doesn't. So he's the primary thought on his mind right now is getting this cluster open. He's running out of balls. He's going to run out of balls real quickly if he doesn't figure out a way to do it. And this ball is in an excellent break ball position, but honestly, it might not be worth saving. You're going to get a break ball out of one of these, possibly, or fall back to this ball. So, and Johnny ultimately does decide to shoot this ball. I would be very tempted in this spot to cut this ball in the side, because this cue ball, I think, goes naturally right into those. And whether it comes off them to the bottom, you have a shot on the 8, or if it comes off them to the top, you'll get a shot on the 3 ball or the 15 or the 9. That's the shot I like, and in fact, I think I would shoot that shot. Now, world champion Johnny Archer chooses otherwise, so maybe my idea is not the best choice. There's also the idea that when you're trying to keep a run going, cutting this ball in the side pocket is a lower percentage shot than the 10. The 10 is a super high percentage shot. This is a little bit lower. That doesn't mean you're going to miss it. I fully expect to make it, but you'll miss it sometime. So now Johnny's shooting the 10. What I see is bringing the cue ball forward like this, because then you've got a cut shot on this 8 to bring the cue ball right up into that cluster. And that's what I thought Johnny was shooting, but look what he shoots. Interesting. Now, at this point, I was assuming, okay, he's going there because the 15 sets him up to get a proper angle on this pink ball. But he doesn't have that. That pink ball does not go. And so it's not a mistake. In the same way, he's going to shoot the 9. In the same way that it's not a mistake to shoot off a potential break ball if it helps your position, it's not a mistake to play position for a trouble ball. The 15 being against the rail is kind of a trouble ball. It's one that you want to be wary of. It's not an emergency, but I think he played position for that 15 knowing that he can just as easily play the cue ball over here for that 8 ball. Once he played position on that 15, he didn't just walk over and bend down and shoot the 15. He continued to look. He's working the problem. He's continuing to look and say, gee, do I have a better shot? And he has decided that he does, because it's a much simpler matter to simply shoot the 9 ball in to get the cue ball over here on the 8. Notice that what's on my mind and what's on Johnny's mind is the same. Opening this cluster. That's the primary importance. We've already got a potential break ball if we don't get a better one here, but of primary importance is opening this cluster. Every single shot that Johnny has been shooting is for the purpose of opening this cluster. That is central on his mind. That's how you run a rack of straight pool. That's how you work the problem. Now, I love this shot. I think it works out good no matter what happens. In other words, if the cue ball hits this side of the 1, the cue ball is going to go this way. We've got balls over here to shoot. If the cue ball hits this side of the 1, then it probably hits the 3 and comes this way. And that's going to knock the 3 this way. We'll have balls to shoot over here. The other thing I liked is that when you hit this 1, the 6 ball hits the pink ball and comes this way, and there's your potential break ball. And what that tells you is you shouldn't blast this too hard. Although, if you hit it really hard, the cue ball can go to the rail and back and still be a break ball. So this is a perfect shot. I think Johnny is really focusing on getting the cue ball to hit the bottom of the 1, but on this side, so that the 6 goes this way, the pink goes this way, cue ball goes this way. All those balls are going to open up. And I guarantee you that's what he's trying to do. And look what happens. Can you believe that? At that speed, the cue ball just perfectly knocks the 7 out and follows through the gap without hitting any of these balls. I mean, that's the type of shot that sends me into a frenzy. But if you want to be a good straight pool player, you got to stay calm and just stay in workman mode. Just work the problem. And I'll just go ahead and hit play. That's what Johnny does. I think the next shot here is pretty obvious. Once again, you could cut this ball on the side, but obviously the 3 ball, and maybe you'll knock a ball over here for a break ball, which he didn't do. So there are options here too. And Johnny's not just going to bend down and shoot this one. He's going to take a look. what I notice is that the 6 ball did not become a break ball. I might have tried to stun the cue ball more to knock the pink ball over, but Johnny made sure that he got a shot. He knew for sure he was going to have a shot on the 1 and the 6. At this moment, when you look at the table, all problems are solved, and he's in the end pattern. But this is a wide open spread end pattern. Let's see, 7 balls on the table. So he has 2 potential break balls, really 3, because if you get an angle on this side, this ball in the side pocket, you can go to the side rail and open the rack. But I'm going to discount that. I think there's 2 great good ones, this one and the 1 ball. So if the 1 ball is your break ball, you're going to want to preserve, the 6 would be the best key ball because you could shoot it in this corner and then position the cue ball down here for the break shot. But if he's going to leave the 1 ball for a break shot, that means you got to shoot the 6 unless you want to cut this 15 up the rail. Well, you're not going to catch me cutting that 15 up the rail when I have an easy shot like the 1 to shoot instead. So you could still shoot the 6 and then maybe bring the cue ball over here to shoot this stripe or to shoot the 7. And then you would have the 15 or the 4 in combination to get the cue ball either on this side or on this side to use the 1 as a break ball. So that's a possibility. Johnny looks at this and decides pretty quickly that he doesn't want to do that. He's going to use this ball as the break ball. So if that's your break ball, what's your key ball? It's pretty obvious, I would hope. This is your key ball. Now you could shoot the balls in a different pattern. For example, you could shoot the 1 and the 6, shoot the 1 ball and then the 6, bring the cue ball here so you have an angle on the 7, then you can come across table for the 15. I guess you'd want to shoot 1, 6, and then shoot this ball, and then shoot the 7, and then the 15. The reason why, the 15 is a perfect ball to set you up for a stop shot on the 4 in this corner. Then the cue ball's in the rack, and you have ball in hand on the 13 break shot. I like that pattern. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can see each ball leads to the next. The 1 leads easily to the 6, leads easily to this ball, this ball. It's a very natural pattern. But it's such a high percentage to get on your break shot from the 7. That's what Johnny ultimately shoots. Now, from here, I just mentioned that the 15 leads to the 4 easily. What I would love to do is to shoot the 1, draw back to here, so I have an easy shot on the 15, which leads to the 4. Problem is the 6 in the way, so you can't do that. So Johnny does draw back, but it's to get a shot on the 6. And now I would hope that the pattern is automatic. It's Johnny sees it as well. It's just what I just pointed out. The 15 leads to the 4. So from the 6, you go to this ball, and then from this ball, you go to the 15. 15 leads to the 4. That's what I see. Johnny sees it differently, I believe. Let's take a look. Oh, I see it. I remember now. Johnny's pattern is much better. He goes to the 15 now, because if the 15 is a cue ball, you're right on the 6. On the 4. If the 4 is a cue ball, you're right on this ball. And then if that's a cue ball, boom, you're right on the 7. So what Johnny's pattern was much better than the one that I just said. Going from the 6 to the 15 was absolutely the right way to do it. And then he didn't get straight in on the 4, so I can't predict what he does. So, but he's got a perfect angle to just go like this and get on that stripe. So nothing wrong with that. Ooh, hit that a little soft. Yikes. Well, he got his speed control perfect. Remember I talked about it would have been better to play position to here because you're farther from the ball, so the speed control doesn't have to be perfect. Regardless, that was the correct route, 15, 4, and then this stripe. Now, on this shot, he's playing position for this, to cut this ball on the side and open the rack. So we still want to look at our parallel line. Because if your cue ball stops inside this line, you're going to have a hard time hitting that rack. If your cue ball stops on the outside of that line, then it's a natural shot to send the cue ball right into the rack. But look at the shot line to the pocket. The closer your cue ball is to this shot line, boy, you got a bad angle. Even if the cue ball is here, it's much harder. You've got to really cue the cue ball accurately to get it into that rack. Johnny understands that, and he puts the cue ball just past the parallel line. That's exactly where you want it. Now, I'm going to give you a hint of the future again. Johnny hits this break shot bad. He's going for it. He's trying to hit it with a lot of force and smash the rack open. And I'm going to play a clip here where I show myself shooting a similar shot. In this example, I have a similar shot. Now, yeah, see, I'm looking at the angle. What you want to go for here, in my opinion, is precision over power. Because I could try to draw the cue ball in there and smash the rack, but what's going to happen to the cue ball? Instead, what you want to try and do is judge the angle so that you're coming across the top of these balls. So I might hit the 3 first, or I might go right into the 12, but you want to come across the top of these balls, and then the cue ball should go to the side rail and back out to the center table, and you're not hitting it very hard, just hard enough to get the cue ball to come across and come back to center table. That's going to send balls in both directions, and you're more likely to have a shot into one of these quarter pockets, or maybe even your choice of 2 or even 3 balls. You can still hit this poorly in that if you hit the side of the 3, not the top, you're probably going to go right in the drink. And if you can also hit the 12 ball thin and scratch or go someplace bad as well. But I think you have a much better chance of opening the rack if you can judge the direction of the cue ball to just come across the top of the balls like this. So I don't have to smash it. It's with control. Kind of old school straight pool, I guess. In my opinion, your chances of coming out with a shot are much higher and staying in control of the rack and continuing. But what Johnny's trying to do now, he's got a bit of an angle, but he's got to use high to get the cue ball to hit the top of the rack. But when you hit it hard, the cue ball stays on the tangent line, and so it never hooked forward, and he completely missed the rack. So we're still working the problem. Now you can play safe from here, and I guarantee you, if Johnny was playing an opponent, he would play a safety. However, this is a Derby City high run challenge. So he just called the corner ball in the side pocket. And this is what we would call a standard shot from here when you're going for a high run. It's not something you would play against an opponent. But if you look at the tangent line between this corner ball and this ball, it's pretty much right here, which is going to send that object ball wide of the corner pocket, probably a little wider, probably about here. But if you hit it hard, that object ball should shorten up off the rail. And this is a low percentage shot, but I'm going to call it part of working the problem. It doesn't take him very long to call that ball in the corner pocket, and he just center ball and hit it hard. Guess what? Johnny's in business. Nice shot. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. See you next week.